안녕하세요. 지금 나사 트로픽스 지금 발사 전인데 문제는 발사가 지금 바람이 엄청 심해요, 지금요. 그래서 지금 기다려야 될 상황이 됐습니다. 지금 오피컬 라이브 커버리지 가고 시작하는데 네, 바람이 지금 심해서 네, 시작하네요. 오늘 간단하게 얘기하면은 예전에 작년에 나사 트로픽스 1을 흔히 발사를 하려다가 실패를 했어요. 그래서 날렸는데 이번에 두 번째로 발사를 합니다. 그래서 그 큐브셋인데 그 말 그대로 트로픽스 해가지고 그 허리케인을 추적하는 위성이 되겠습니다. 어쨌든 시작은 하는데 일단 봐야겠네요. 아, 노크네임스 하네 지금. 어, 지금 바람 때문에 지금 어떻게 될지 지금 지켜봐야 되겠습니다. 아, 창은 2시간 창이니까 2시간 안에 발사를 하면 되긴 돼요. 아니, 항상 여기서는 바람이 좀 많이 불어가지고 좀 지켜봐야겠습니다. 네, 로켓랩 이제 시작하죠.
It is 40 minutes past midday here at Rocket Lab's Mission Control Center in Auckland, New Zealand, where
뉴질랜드
launch
마이아
operations are
해변이에요.
well underway in the lead up to our 36th Electron launch. Hello and welcome to our live broadcast for Rocket Like a Hurricane, a dedicated mission for NASA to launch the Tropics constellation
바람이 안
of
분다.
hurricane monitoring satellites.
바람이 안
Today's
불지
mission
바람이
is
바람이 안
flying from
부니까
Pad B at Rocket Lab Launch
지켜봐야겠습니다.
Complex 1, our private spaceport on the Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. T0 for Rocket Like a Hurricane is set for 1 p.m. local time. And for our friends at NASA watching in the United States, that translates to 9 in the evening Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, and a very early 1 a.m. UTC. My name is Muriel Baker.
And I'm Keegan Black, and we are thrilled to be with you for today's mission. Our launch and safety operations teams at the range in Mahia and here at
이번
Rocket Lab's Mission
발사가
Control Center in
자
Auckland are heading into the final T-minus 18 minutes of the countdown after methodically proceeding with final checks and preparations for Electron, NASA satellites,
저번에도
and the launch
바람
pad
때문에
to make sure all systems are healthy.
연기된 적이 좀 있어가지고
We have an exciting pair of satellites from NASA on Electron today. The two
올해
3U
로켓랩 발사
CubeSats
네 번째
begin a
발사고
new constellation in low Earth orbit
지금
to
컴플렉스
monitor tropical
B1
cyclones,
마이아기에서 발사하는 게
including
두 번째입니다.
hurricanes and
두 번은
typhoons
지금
around the world.
이거
Hence the
미국에서
Tropics name,
발사했죠.
which
그리고
stands
일렉트론이
for
36번째
time-resolved
발사하는 거고
observations of
올해
precipitation structure
좀
and
숫자가
storm
헷갈리는데
intensity
65번째
for the
발사라고 지금
constellation of small
발사
sats.
시도라고 지금 돼
Another great
있어요.
NASA acronym. Today's mission is the first of two
발사 카운트
dedicated Electron
발사 카운트
launches
얘기가
to
좀
deploy
어렵더라고요,
the constellation.
좀요.
This first launch has been dubbed by the NASA team as Rocket Like a Hurricane, and in about 2 weeks' time, we'll be following up with a second launch. That mission has been affectionately called Coming to a Storm Near You. Both missions are heading to a 550 kilometer circular altitude above Earth at an inclination of about 30 degrees. This is a unique orbit best reached with a dedicated launch, making Electron the ideal launch vehicle to deploy Tropics. Here's more from NASA about Tropics and its importance, not just to NASA's Earth Science team, but for all of us eager to have more accurate and more timely information on powerful storms when they come our way.
Here's a question. How does a group of satellites,
이거 지금
each no more than a foot
큐브셋
long, help
저기 한
improve
두 번
forecasts
더
for tropical
발사한다.
storms
네
and
개
hurricanes?
발사한다 그러고요.
Let's take a look. Hurricanes are some of the most powerful and destructive weather events on Earth. The 2020 Atlantic hurricane season was brutal, producing a record-breaking 30 named storms. What's more, 10 of those storms were characterized as rapidly intensifying, some throttling up by 100 miles per hour in under 2 days.
아 그리고
Many weather
저기 이제
satellites will generally measure a storm
나사가
only
운영
once every
중인
few
여러 가지
hours,
큐브셋들
leaving
지금
gaps in coverage where a storm
네.
may quickly strengthen. To help fill this observation gap, NASA is launching Tropics, a collection of satellites designed to make a big impact on our understanding of damaging storms. Their mission? To provide near-hourly observations of a storm's precipitation, temperature, and humidity, allowing scientists to better understand what drives a storm's intensification. To achieve this, researchers at MIT's Lincoln Laboratory developed a miniaturized microwave radiometer that's about the size of a cup of coffee. This small instrument will measure storm strength by detecting the thermal radiation naturally emitted by the oxygen and water vapor in the air. As Earth's climate continues to change, cost-effective but powerful satellites like Tropics will be an important tool to help us better observe developments driving rapid changes in powerful storms, and help forecasters better predict and prepare for the weather ahead.
Tropics has been a massive team effort to get the satellites from idea to the launch pad, with the science team led by the Lincoln Laboratory at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and others including researchers from the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and several universities and commercial partners.
Few people have been closer to this mission than Stuart Cook. He is one of the mission managers for the Tropics program. And we were lucky enough to catch up with
장기하가
Stuart
그
earlier in
아까
the week
사이클론
at the production complex. Let's take a look.
My name is Stuart Cook, and
나사
I work for NASA Langley
네,
Research Center. My
매니저시고
job title is I'm the mission manager for the Tropics project. Think about 4 satellites orbiting the Earth. These
관측과
satellites are looking
큐브셋이에요.
down at clouds, at storms, at hurricanes, and they're looking to see how they form, how they intensify, or how they get stronger. So with Tropics, we have 4 CubeSats that are going to be orbiting the Earth. They're about the size of a loaf of bread, so very small compared to your traditional satellites. And the beauty of having 4 of these things orbiting the Earth is that they can revisit a storm every hour, which is very different from how traditional satellites do it. They may come by the same storm once every 10 hours. The data from Tropics, we're going to feed that to our partners, which are like NOAA, the National Hurricane Center. They take it and it helps them improve their hurricane forecasting and hurricane modeling. So when you think about it from the end users and you look at a TV and you say, hey, a hurricane's coming up the coast of Florida, it says the storm could go this direction, it could go this direction. We have improved models that will have a tighter band of where that storm is going to be. It's giving better forecast information to not only NOAA, but to the viewers. So for the first launch is, we're going to have a launch window of maybe 2 hours. It says it can launch between 1 and 3 p.m. New Zealand time.
커밍어
The
스톰
second
리얼
launch, there's a lot
유
of
해가지고
synchronization that has
발사를
to happen, so it's pretty exciting
그때
for
성공했었나?
a company like Rocket Lab to be able to do that with that kind of precision to help us meet our mission goals.
내가
During the launch, I'll be in the Mission Control Center here, so that'll be a new experience. I'll be on console to give the roll call for all systems go for the payloads. We're just so excited to really see it happen now. I can't just contain my excitement because it's just a lot of anticipation leading up to this moment.
근데 바람이 문제가 지금 바람이 좀 심해가지고 지금 지켜보고 있는 상황이에요. 바람이 좀 많이
Right
불죠.
now in the countdown, we are at that 13-minute mark and counting as our launch team gets into the final go, no-go
일단 12분
for
남았고요.
today's launch.
Our launch director today is Joseph Carpico. He will run through the list of operators at the range here in Mission Control to check in on whether all systems are go for liftoff. Let's bring up Mission Control audio now to hear the poll get underway.
일단은 지켜보고 있는데 일단 2시간 안에 지금 발사장이 2시간이니까 그 안에 하긴 됩니다만은 바람이 그렇게 쉽게 진정이 되지는
All
않겠죠.
operators, this is the LD on mission proceeding with the go no go sequence. Stage.
Stages go.
Avionics.
Avionics is go.
GNC.
GNC is go.
Beacon.
Beacons go.
T1.
T1 is go.
GC.
GC is go.
PLS.
PLS is go.
RSO.
고 노고
RSO.
지금 투표.
Med is go.
MM.
MM is go.
LD sub.
LD sub is go.
The go no go sequence is complete. We are now T minus 11 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. We are go for terminal count at T minus 10 minutes. From this time, the 3-word hold procedure is in effect.
Great news there from Mission Control. We are go for launch and ready to rocket like a hurricane for today's first Tropics launch for NASA. You also heard our launch director confirm today's liftoff target, which is set for 1 p.m. local time, or 9 p.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.
Looking back at the launch pad as we count down to liftoff, let's take you through the Electron rocket carrying the Tropics payload. Electron
네,
is a
일단 가기도
two-stage
했습니다.
to orbit liquid-fueled launch vehicle designed
고로
specifically for small
결정됐어요.
satellite missions. At the bottom of the first stage is where we have 9 3D printed Rutherford
노고
engines
고 노고
located.
투표 완료되고
A 10th space
일단은
optimized Rutherford
카운트다운
engine
이렇게 가지고
takes
가죠.
us to orbit with our second stage.
The Rutherford engines use liquid oxygen and RP1 kerosene as its propellant and oxidizer, and these are fed into the engine's combustion chamber in a world-first way, using electric pumps powered by batteries.
아 그리고 어제 그
Electron
다누리
structure is made
아니
of a
다누리가
carbon
아니라
composite material,
그
super
누리호
strong,
3차
yet very
발사가
lightweight
이제
material
24일에 있다고
that gives our
해가지고
rocket its
어제
sleek,
대대적으로
flat
이제 이야기
It's
뉴스가
white now because of
나오더라고요.
the cold liquid oxygen in Electron's
네,
tanks,
근데
which
그
causes
24일
moisture to
6시니까
condensate as
어떻게 될지
ice on the
모르겠어요.
outside of the rocket.
제가
The
힘들지를
Tropics
모르겠습니다.
satellites are mounted to the rocket's kick stage inside Electron's fairing or nose cone.
At around 3 minutes into flight, that fairing will separate into two halves, exposing the satellites to space ready for deployment. This mission, though, is a little different to a standard Electron launch after this point, because typically, Electron's second stage would take us to an elliptical orbit around Earth, and then the kick stage would complete a final circularization burn with its tiny 3D printed Curie engine. But for Tropics, the second stage will be used to circularize the orbit, and the kick stage will instead perform
아,
an inclination change.
그 오늘은
Makes the
그
two
소모품
Tropics
구성으로
keep
비행할
great
할
precision
거니까
on position.
그 원래 복구 즉 그 재착륙을 하는 것은 빨간색 띠가 있대요. 근데 빨간색 띠가 없는 거 봐서는 네 오늘은 그 그냥 소모품 다 써버리고 그냥 다 그 방출한다 그 얘기를 하더라고요. 하네요. 이제 9분 남았죠.
Avionics LD
네,
mission.
오늘 일렉트론 발사 네 번째 발사예요.
Yes, sir. Please proceed with sequence 56, the avionics terminal check sequence.
Sequence 56 and work.
아 그리고 내일 모레 그
Yes, band is switched to high power.
수요일 밤 10시에 또 시간 남았죠. 10시에 중국에서 텐저 6 즉 중국 우주 화물선 발사가 있습니다. 그것도 생중계를 하는데 제가 중국어를 잘 몰라서
Stage LD on mission.
And the stage.
하여튼 생중계를 합니다. 오랜만에 생중계를 쭉
After
할
today's
테니까요.
first pair of Tropics satellites are deployed, the second set on our next Electron rocket must be launched soon after, so that the constellation is up and running in time
중국도
for this
올해
year's
발사가
Atlantic
엄청나게
hurricane
지금
season,
많이 하고 있고
beginning in June. So even before we have liftoff today, we know our second rocket will be rolling out to the pad for launch in approximately 2 weeks from now.
The Tropics launches won't be our fastest launch turnaround to date. That record is just 7 days, which we achieved earlier this year with a mission from LC2 in Virginia that was swiftly followed up days later with a launch from LC1 in New Zealand. But 2 weeks between dedicated smallsat missions is something that just did not exist for smallsats prior to Electron. Part of the reason we can deliver these missions one after the other so quickly is down to our comprehensive parallel test programs to prepare multiple Electrons for the big day. Rocket Lab mission manager Jane McNichol has been across the entire campaign for Tropics. She has more to share on what's involved in the lead up to launch.
이번에 뭘 보여주나요?
My name is Jane McNichol. I'm a
미션
mission
매니저.
manager at Rocket Lab, and I'm the mission
로켓
manager for the
아까는
two
나사 책임
Tropics
나사
missions.
매니저 보내주네.
So as
이번
we know, the
로켓랩
number of
매니저
hurricanes we're
보여줍니다.
experiencing every year is increasing due to climate change. And the intensity of these storms is also increasing. The current technology that we have on orbit to monitor hurricane development may only be able to check in on these storms every couple of hours, but within that time, we might see a storm increase in intensity quite a bit. Tropics is a constellation of 4 CubeSats that will be able to monitor near hourly these intense tropical storms in
6분
terms
남았죠?
of precipitation, temperature, and humidity, and collect this data for us. And this data has the potential to save lives and livelihoods. So it very well aligns with Rocket Lab's mission to improve life on Earth by enabling access to space. Before the launch vehicle even makes it to the launch site on launch day, it undergoes months of rigorous testing, starting with small component testing like our avionics, up into large stack testing or hot fire testing of our engines at our test sites, and then a full end-to-end wet dress rehearsal or practice for launch day. And this is all part of making Electron the most reliable small launcher on the market. Once the satellites arrive at the launch site, the satellite team from NASA and MIT Lincoln Laboratories will be inspecting and doing some final checks on the satellites to make sure that they're ready to be installed on the launch vehicle. In parallel with those tests, Rocket Lab is also running additional tests on the launch vehicle, which is fully delivered to the launch site by this time. We'll be doing integrated testing end-to-end of our avionics systems and preparing for the satellites to be integrated onto the kick stage. Then we will encapsulate the spacecraft and integrate the full launch vehicle, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and roll out for wet dress rehearsal. A wet dress rehearsal is basically a practice for launch day, where we perform all of the operations like we would on day of launch, including fueling the vehicle. And this gives us extra assurance that everything will go according to plan on launch day. Then we'll review the data from that test and proceed with launch. Everyone has a hand in helping Electron get to the pad for launch day, starting with our design team, into our manufacturing team, as well as our test and LC1 team, all the way to mission control and the engineers there behind me. This is a team of dedicated engineers who have gained their experience over 30 plus launches here at Rocket Lab. So as a mission manager, that means that I get to work closely with our customer, NASA and MIT Lincoln Laboratories. And I am so excited for launch day and being able to tell them that we've successfully deployed their satellites in orbit and see the real work begin there for them, and be able to see the excitement, not just once, but twice, because we've got 2 back-to-back missions coming up. So I can't wait for launch day. I'm really psyched about it.
As we approach T-minus 4 minutes to liftoff, let's take you through the last moments before those 9 Rutherford engines ignite.
At 2 minutes before liftoff, the ground power supply at the launch pad is disabled and Electron switches to internal power. Our launch safety system, the AFTS, will be enabled at the same time, and we can expect to hear both of those calls from our operators in mission control, one after the other. The liquid oxygen supply valves on stages 1 and 2 are closed about 10 seconds later, with another operator expected to confirm on comms that LOX load is complete.
At under a minute to liftoff, the propellant tanks will be at their optimum pressure levels for launch. Ground control will soon afterward confirm the water system at the launch pad is ready to be activated for when the engines on the rocket ignite for launch. This is what will cause a large white cloud of water vapor
At T-minus 10 seconds, the launch director will count down with the mission clock to liftoff. The engines will ignite at T-minus 3 seconds, and the launch pad's hold-down mechanisms will be released. Then Electron will take to the skies for its 36th launch for this Tropics mission to space. We'll bring up the audio channels from mission control now to listen in, and then we'll be back with you after liftoff.
All operators LD on mission. We are go for auto sequence start at T-minus 2 minutes. LD is go for launch.
네, 2분 남았네요. 2분. 자, 이제 발사 스컨스 이제 들어갑니다.
AFTS is green and enabled for flight.
Lock load is complete. System is in recirc. Anti-geysering is disabled.
누나. 54초, 네, 1분 내 남았네요. 1분 내 남았어요.
Stage 1, Stage 2, press for flight.
Engine purge enabled.
네, 자동 시커스 들어갔습니다 이미.
Deluge activated.
T-minus 20 seconds and counting. Ten, nine,
들어갑니다.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
와, 발사.
1.
발사됐어요. 와, 올라갑니다. 네, 아주 정확하게 발사가 됐습니다. 자, 지금 내부 모습도 보여주고 있고요.
HVB discharge is nominal.
Electron is soaring through the sky right now after lifting off from
네,
Pad B
로켓
at Launch Complex 1, now on its
허리케인.
way to low Earth orbit for NASA and Tropics. The first launch milestone the rocket will pass
올라가고
through is
있고요.
max Q, when the forces against Electron are at their peak as the rocket moves quickly through the atmosphere. Mission Control is expected to call that out on the net shortly.
발사가 됐고 이제 맥스 Q 네, 들어가.
Max Q.
맥스 Q. 최대 동업
Great news
들어갔죠.
there with Max Q and onward and upward for Electron. It has only been about a minute since liftoff, and already the rocket is at its speeds of over 2,000 kilometers an hour, a mere fraction of the 27,000 plus kilometers an hour that is orbital velocity, which will reach ahead of payload deployment in the next 30 minutes or so.
Next, though, is the separation of the rocket between stages 1 and 2. For that to happen, we first need the 9 Rutherford engines currently burning hot to shut down, an action called main engine cutoff or MECO. Then a few moments later, stages 1 and 2 will spring apart. We'll hear that called out as stage separation. Then the single space-optimized Rutherford engine on the second stage will light up and carry on with the Tropics mission. Those milestones should be taking place at around
스태깅
T plus
들어갑니다.
2.5 minutes.
Seconds to MECO.
Entered burnout detect mode.
아, 미코가 메인 엔딩 컷오프구나. 저게 거기 스태깅이나 어디 불렀네요. 스태깅. 잘 올라갑니다 지금.
MECO confirm.
자, 분리됐습니다. 일단 하고 자, 완전 분리가 됐어요.
Stage ignition.
Exactly as we expect, there goes MECO stage separation, and we can now see that the Rutherford engine nozzle is glowing hot on the second stage. The Tropics satellites remain in good health on the Electron, and soon the rocket's onboard computer will command the fairing to separate and fall away. Now that we're in the vacuum of space, Tropics doesn't need the protection of the fairing anymore, so we get rid of that dead weight to maximize fuel efficiency on the way to orbit.
Fairing separation successful.
If you're looking at the screen at the right moment,
야,
just
이
there,
페어링
you'll see
분리를
those two
영상이
nose
끊긴다
cone
근데.
halves falling away as
끊기지
planned
저게?
with the fairing separation.
페어링
Electron is
스피레이션.
performing nominally on its way to
오,
orbit
잘
with a
가고
few
있습니다.
minutes between now and our next mission milestone, the battery hot swap for our second stage engine at around 6 minutes 52 seconds into flight.
Guidance
예,
nominal.
페어링 모자로 분리됐어요.
Stage 2 propulsion, still nominal.
근데 저기 지구 하늘이 인상적이네요. 저렇게 보이네. 그리고 배터리 젝티신 해가지고 저기 일렉트론 전자인지를 쓰기 때문에 저거 배터리가 있거든요. 배터리가 분리된다고 그 뜻을 지금 이야기하고 있습니다.
Electron and Tropics are moving at a good pace right now, well over 8,000 kilometers an hour at the T plus 4 minute mark into the mission. The vehicle is currently at 234 kilometers in altitude, with another 300 or 50 so kilometers to go until we reach our 550 kilometer
네, 위성이 두
destination.
개거든요. 그 위성 두 개
Getting there
분리는
is only one part of the journey, though, as Tropics won't be released immediately at that 550 kilometer first touch. The satellites will remain attached to the rocket's third stage and complete a full loop of Earth before they can be deployed on their home orbit. We'll explain that process in more detail later when we get closer to that point of the mission.
Stage 2 propulsion hold nominal.
A quick check of the dials on our screen tell us that all remains nominal for Electron and Tropics. The rocket is moving steadily at more than
네,
9,000
카르만 9을
kilometers an hour,
넘었어요.
and we are inching closer to that 550 kilometer
고도가
mark. Now that
300km이기
Electron
때문에
has passed more than 300
네.
kilometers altitude. To keep the mission running smoothly, we'll have another launch milestone coming up soon. It is called the battery hot swap, and it's essential to keeping our Rutherford engine running all the way to the mission's altitude destination. That action is due at around 6 minutes and 52 seconds in flight, so in just another 1 minute or so.
Guidance is nominal, 200 seconds remaining.
What we call the battery hot swap maneuver is a unique action for our Electron rocket. When the first two battery packs supplying power to our electropumps on stage 2 are close to being drained, Electron switches to a
야,
fresh
지구가 보이는
battery
게
that will
인상적이네요.
ensure the Rutherford engine lasts the distance to orbit. It's a move our rocket has performed countless times before, but it is a move unique to Electron. Battery hot swap is on its way in just a few moments, so we'll bring up the mission control comms again to listen out for the call.
그 엔진이 그 일렉트론 엔진이 러더포드거든요. 러더포드 엔진을 작동시키는 그 배터리가 있는데 배터리가 분리되는 게 배터리 제티션입니다. 떨어져 나갔죠? 네, 저기 지금 떨어져 나가는 게 배터리예요.
Just as it was planned, the Rutherford has switched to its new power source with the battery hot swap and is continuing nominally with the Tropics mission. There are a few minutes left in the engine's burn time before the second stage completes its final actions for the mission, shutting down Rutherford and then separating from the third stage.
아우 소리가 아주 실감 나네요.
HVB discharge holding nominal.
이제는 퀵 스테이지 지금 타고 있는 게 있잖아요. 저 퀵 스테이지가 분리됩니다. 지금 2단부.
How beautiful are some of these views from Electron.
지구 모습이
This
멋있네요.
nominal Rutherford burn
둥근
marks
지구죠.
our 360th engine in space, inching us closer to our 400th engine milestone, expected on our 40th Electron launch. In fact, one of those engines to fly next will be an engine that we have already launched before. We are taking the next major step in evolving Electron into a reusable rocket by launching a pre-flown Rutherford engine on one of our missions later this year. That engine, which flew on our There and Back Again mission in May 2022, has undergone the same extensive testing and acceptance processes as any newly built engine, and has performed flawlessly throughout multiple full mission duration engine tests. We are very excited
나사에서
to see that
나왔네요.
engine back on
나사에서도
the pad soon.
네, 신발 상자 크기의 위성이 우리 고향 행성을 연구하기 위해서 올라갔다. 두 개입니다. 두 개 발사합니다. 와, 500km까지 올라갑니다. 꽤 올라가네요.
entered burnout detect mode.
All right, at T plus
소리가
8
인상적이다,
minutes,
굉장히.
56 seconds into this mission for NASA, and we are nearly in orbit. In a few moments, we'll be able to see that red-hot engine nozzle there start to turn cold once the engine on stage 2 shuts down.
Mission Control will call out these actions. Listen out for SECO confirmed on the nets coming up shortly.
올해 말에도 올해 말에 일렉트론이 그
Seco confirm.
두 번째 출시된다 이거 나오고요. 분리됐습니다. 키스테이지 분리됐고.
There it is from Mission Control, met with a good cheer from our team. SECO and stage separation confirmed. That means our kick stage and Tropics satellites are now in their phasing orbit of Earth. It's been a perfectly nominal mission so far, but Electron's work isn't quite done yet.
That's right, Tropics is a bit different to our usual launches. For this mission, the second stage sending the kick stage directly into a circular orbit, rather than the kick stage taking the satellites on its usual elliptical journey around Earth first. Then,
소리가
once the
없어졌죠?
kick stage passes the equator at what is called the ascending node, the kick stage's Curie engine lights up to change its inclination to end up in Tropics' desired orbit.
So while we wait for that Curie burn, we'll take a short break on the live stream now and join you then to hear those final confirmations come through from Mission Control. We'll be back soon.
네, 지금 경로를 좀 보여주고 있고요. 이거 엄청 시간 걸리기 때문에 지금 네. 저기 이제 다음 단계가 큐리번이라고 지금 나왔잖아요. 큐리번은 뭐냐면은 그 로켓랩에서 설계 제조한 액체논리의 추진 로켓 엔진인데 이중 추진제예요. 세 번째 단계라고 생각하면 됩니다. 근데 이제 아직 그 궤도를 계속 궤도를 안 보이지. 궤도 조정하고 여기 2018년에 처음 발사됐구나. 퀴리번이구나. 퀴리. 아직은 시간이 걸립니다. 퀴리번. 이게 내가 그거 안 됐구나. 잠깐만요. 이게 데스크탑. 뭐야? 대단하죠. 소리 들리는데. 아? 짱구야, 진이야, YTN. 눈 아파. 와 재밌다 이거. 지금 그 아까 들려지는 음악이 아까 그 에브리 아스트로에서 만든 거다고 지금 나왔어요. 지금 에브리 아스트로에서 내 음악을 라이브 스트림에 듣는 것은 정말 신기하다고 나왔어. 와 대박이다. 이분 음악도 하시구나. 대단한데요. 이제 좀만 있으면 이제 퀴리번하고 이제 디플로이.
Great to have you back with us for the webcast of our 36th Electron launch, the Rocket Like a Hurricane mission to deliver the first pair of Tropics satellites to orbit for NASA. We had a great liftoff from the pad at Launch Complex 1 today, where Electron cleared the Mahia Peninsula quickly and made its way northeast and successfully passed through early launch milestones like max Q, main engine cutoff, and separation of the first and second stage. The second stage performed excellently through its launch milestones too, including battery hot swap and second engine cutoff
설마
for T plus
그분이냐라고 생각했었는데 진짜는 또
Now
맞네
we
그분.
are here with the kick stage carrying the Tropics satellites to their 550-kilometer altitude destination as we come up to Curie engine burn for that final inclination chain.
Tropics will then be released from their canisterized satellite dispensers, the safety housing made by us for this pair of Tropics smallsats. We'll have official confirmation of those actions taking place once the kick stage passes over the next ground station.
예,
of
마지막
the
퀴리번이
But we'll be
있고
following along with the mission in real time with this animation
페이로드
displayed
디플로이드
on the kick stage.
가 있죠.
So we'll bring up the comms channels to listen in on the final few moments of this Tropics
어머야,
mission. Let's listen in.
멈춰버린다. 오이씨, 배터리가 너무 안 좋아서. 아니, 지금 조금만 있으면 이제 퀴리번이 이루어지고요. 네, 페이로드 디플로이도 이제 마지막이죠. 페이로드 디플로이가 하면 이제 마지막으로 발사가 마무리될 것 같습니다. 거의 지금 마지막 단계 거의 이르렀어요. 자, 이제 퀴리번. 이제 퀴리번은 아까 얘기했지만은 그 3단 추진체인데 그 마르퀴리 이름을 따가지고 과학자 마르퀴리 이름을 따가지고 지은 거예요. 그래서 그 안정적으로 궤도에 올리기 위해서 점화를 한다라고 이야기를 하네요.
Word there from Mission Control that the Curie engine is expected to have now ignited. This engine is relightable and it gimbals to orient the kick stage in a very precise manner, allowing our customers pinpoint accuracy for payload deployment. Listening in now for the next call of Curie shutdown ahead of payload deployment.
이제 그 스테이지 같은 경우는 그 상태 바로미터가 안 보여주네 지금요. 퀴리번이 진행 중이어야 합니다라고 지금 나오는데 지금 아직까지 별 얘기는 아직 안 보이죠. 기울기 변동 기동을 위해서 마지막 단계 킥스테이지가
We're currently waiting for the Curie engine shutdown, followed by the call for payload deployment for the first pair of Tropics satellites for NASA. The two 3U CubeSats are each not much bigger than a loaf of bread, And these small but extremely powerful satellites will begin
점화됐다는 얘기네요. 나왔네요.
low Earth orbit to monitor tropical cyclones around the world.
Tropics aims to measure temperature, humidity, and precipitation so that we can better understand the evolution and structure of storms, and doing so with a high revisit rate within the hour will be invaluable. Curie engine shutdown is expected at around
shutdown 됐고요.
a few minutes from now, actually, so not long to go. And then a few seconds later, we should hear expected nominal payload deployment from Mission Control. Let's check back in.
Expected nominal Curie shutdown.
There goes Curie engine shutdown. Listening in now for payload deployment.
네, 페이로드 디플레이만 남았습니다. 이제 점화됐다가 이제 꺼진 거죠. 이제. 지금 이건 애니메이션을 지금 보여주고 있는데 네, 지금 애니메이션 저 킥스테이지가 있는데 거기 지금 위성 2개가 붙어 있어요. 이게 지금 이제 디플로이가 네 지금 된다 뭐 이 얘기를 하는 거죠.
Expected nominal payload deployment.
네, 지금 넌 애니메이션도 보여주고
And
있습니다.
there is the
애니메이션을.
call-out from Mission Control.
지금 애니메이션
Expected
디플레인 거.
nominal payload deployment. Congratulations, NASA
네.
and the Tropics team, and welcome
미션
to
완료했습니다.
your new home in orbit.
발사
When the
아니 그
kickstart
디플로이까지
comes
완전
from
완벽하게
the
끝났네요.
XL station at Azores, we expect to receive the full telemetry package that confirms everything you've just heard from Mission Control. Look to our social media channels for that update within the hour as we close out this broadcast for our 36th Electron launch.
And we'll be back to do it all over again with NASA for our second launch for the Tropics mission to place another pair of small sats on orbit for this
네,
important
성공적으로 디플로이 됐다라고 이제 선언을 했고요. 제가 이제 내일은 오전에는 그 우주 탐사 5월 첫째 주 우주 탐사 스터디가 있고요. 그 밤 10시 30분 경에 그 중국의 그 우주 화물선 텐조 6가 발사가 되거든요. 그것도 생중계를 할 예정입니다.
And to follow along NASA's Tropics mission, you can head to blogs.nasa.gov/small satellites.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is
네,
Rocket
잘
Lab
봤습니다.
Control,
네,
signing off.
네, 저도 여기서 끝내겠습니다. 감사합니다. 네, 아주 그 발사하고 남은 발사대만 남아 있네요. 네, 지금 이걸 하게 하려면 다음 지상국 통과해서 통과해서 그 신호를 받아야 된다 이야기를 하고 있어요. 하여튼간에 저도 네. 여기서 끝내겠습니다. 저도 끝까지 보기도 참 오랜만이네요. 20분 안에 그 신호 수신한다 여기 나오고 있습니다. 네, 여기까지 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.